We all kick the bucket in the end, the end. Oh, the girls kick the bucket in the end, the end.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Talking Bodies. I am one of your hosts, Russell, the RMT.
I'm Rosie, the RMT, and also joined with us here today is Mr. Kyeler Tymafichuk. There's a whole lot of syllables in that. Mr. Kyeler is a professional musician of the banjo and the violin, among other things, and we are talking today about human bodies as musicians interpret them and their problems. Because, boy, it's been a summer of music. For me, at least. I don't know. Everyone else? How have been the music festivals this year? Nesquik?
I have not gone to a single
You have
one.
not gone to the things?
But I've heard good things.
You've heard good things about them? Yeah. Is there another one coming up in Saskatoon?
I am definitely the wrong person to
No.
ask.
Backwards Nest. That's coming up, yeah.
I don't know much about that.
That's in 2 weeks, but I think there's probably going to be lots of bluegrass and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, people are always playing good. Oh, you know, a lot of Saskatoon bands come out. Yeah, there's a lot of good Saskatoon bands that like break out with albums and stuff in the fall. You know, when all the kids come back to the schools and they're eager to go and spend money at the bars and such. So yeah, musicians out there, we got to take care of your bodies too, because that is your tool chest. And if your hammer breaks, you ain't got no job no mo. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Kyeler, would you like to tell us about your muscle problems, and we will advise you on fixing them and preventing them and such?
Yeah, sure. I guess a little bit about me first. Name is Kyeler Tymafichuk. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, and I came down for the Ness Creek Bluegrass Festival. Ooh. Had a hoot and hollering good time. So much fun there. I totally recommend everybody to go out to it. I play out of Edmonton, Alberta, and I play fiddle, banjo, and mandolin professionally. And it's a lot of work on my body. It's a lot of work on my left shoulder. The violin has some of the worst contortions you can possibly do to your left shoulder. And then the banjo, for many of you probably don't know, the banjo is about, my banjo at least is 12 pounds, and you get them ranging anywhere from about 5 pounds to 15 pounds.
So roughly the weight of a 6-month-old baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
On a very focused point on your shoulder.
Oh, you're so ready to be a father.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Except that I'm a musician, so I can't afford one.
Burn. But yeah, so there's a lot of strain on the same particular muscles. I heard a lot of people at the festival saying, oh, I'm a multi-instrumentalist. And that didn't impress me so much as strike me as making ergonomic sense. You know, because you don't want to put a lot of effort into one particular muscle arrangement.
Yeah, it would kind of make sense, wouldn't it, to have multidisciplines, as long as it's not just all the same
I know, right?
posture.
Well, I can tell you as the musician, I've done a lot of thinking about this stuff, and I tend to view myself more as an athlete than as a musician. And as I'm playing, it's just a finer sport than it is to play hockey. Rather than using coarse muscles, I'm using fine muscles. And I hear all the time the kids who are only focused on hockey or only focused on soccer or only focused on baseball, not only are they getting more injuries from overuse and strain, but they're later in life they don't have, not quite sure what the word for it is, they don't have the dexterity to do all of these other sports. They're not physically literate, I think.
They're highly specialized.
Yeah. It's very bad. Linda, the physical therapist we had on a few weeks ago, she was saying how that's really not recommended anymore, that they put young-ish 10, 11-year-old children in those super high level of sports because it is really detrimental to the long-term stability of legs, of joints, of arms. If you get really one specific thing tightened up and really tuned in to the neglect of others.
It's bad.
For sure. Not great.
Adding to that, I guess, I spent some time at MacEwan University School of Music and came out of it having not played violin as intensely as I did in that program with 5-hour practice days.
Oof.
Oh, yeah.
That's too much.
Practicing 5 hours, plus your classes, plus your rehearsals, plus your gigs, plus your time in the recording studio, plus your teaching music. It was a busy year. But about 4 months in, I had a repetitive, repetitive stress injury. I couldn't play for about 2 weeks, and I had to swap over to mandolin. Mandolin, by the way, for those viewers, it's a violin played like a guitar. Imagine a guitar but tuned like a violin, and you play it much the same kind of way, just because it was working different muscles and it wasn't so hard on my shoulder. I could not pick up the violin, and I didn't have the strength in my fingers when my arm was in the violin position.
I can see that because you're tilting your neck and squishing into the pathway of your nerves into your hand. So it's detrimental in a couple different ways, that it's squishing the nerve areas, and it's also like super tensing the muscles. So like, you could potentially lose your nerve connection to your hand with that tension there.
And I imagine as you're playing for like 5 hours a day, as you play longer, things start to tense up more and more and more.
Because your body adapts to what you ask it to do.
Yeah,
very much so. Cool. We're going to take a break and listen to a wonderful tune by Mr. Kyeler here. And we're going to get back into prevention.
Tuned by Queen, but I'm doing a cover.
Well, yeah.
Fat Bottom Girls. Oh, won't you take me home tonight? Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, don't you let it all hang out. Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round. Well, I was just a skinny lad, I never knew no good from bad. I knew life before I left the nursery. I was left alone with a big fat fanny. She was such a naughty nana. Hey, big woman, you made a big boy out of me. Oh, won't you take me home tonight? Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, won't you let it all hang up? Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round. I've been singing with my band across the water, across the land, and I've seen every blue-eyed floozy along the way. But their beauty and their style goes kind of smooth after a while. Take me to them lot of ladies every time. Oh, won't you take me home tonight? Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, won't you let it all hang on? Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round. I've got mortgages on homes, I got sickness in my bones. Ain't no beauty queens in this locality, but I still get my pleasure, I still got my greatest treasure. Hey, big woman, made a big boy out of me. Oh, won't you take me home tonight? Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, won't you let it all hang out? Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round. Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
Hello, welcome back. And that was a rendition of Fat Bottom Girls by our Mr. Kyeler
Tymafichuk.
It's so rough. It's a rough, lots of syllable words out of Edmonton. We are talking bodies here today about musicians and their bodies and the stupid things that they do. So I'm hearing
the bodies, not the musicians.
Well, yeah.
Stupid things the bodies do.
Stupid things the bodies do. Bodies are difficult. Life is hard, and rough things happen. So definitely with banjo and violin and mandolin, you're twisting and you're rotating into the left side of your neck. There's a little bit of shoulder dropping that's happening on the left side. The shoulder rotator cuff is pulled forward a little bit too much there, and there's a lot of different strength left to right across the back and across the neck. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree.
Cool. What are some of the things that you learned in your university education with music that were about to keep your ergonomics normalized?
Yeah, the problem with the whole program, I thought, and I think with music education in general, is that nobody pays attention to the injuries because nobody feels qualified to talk about the injuries.
What?
Yep, that sounds about right.
It's such a liability issue.
So they don't take responsibility for students' injuries?
That's correct.
Oh my God.
But it's not that they, I think that's a wrong way of putting the words. They don't teach you enough about it because they don't know enough about it themselves.
So they can't be held liable for teaching you something wrong if they don't teach you at all.
Well, that's a terrible oversight. You can't just keep music in isolation. Well, okay, like us as massage therapists, our education is in that. So yeah, ergonomics were a big topic of conversation in our education. Me and Russell went to college together. Okay. So no intervention, no discussion whatsoever, no coping.
I mean, there's a little, you ask for it, and the teacher tells you a little bit of what they know, but it's not official university sanctioned kind of stuff. Another thing that I had working against me while I was there is that I was lumped in with the horns. I was the only violin player in the school. Doing, jazz violin is not a super popular kind of career choice.
But it should be. Jazz violin is
so much fun.
So on point.
So much fun.
So your strengthening exercise with your little... I thought that looked like a horn finger device. What do you call those guys?
I think it's just called a grip strength exerciser.
Okay.
I picked mine up at a climbing store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great for I have problems with my shoulders and my back, but what I have no problems with is my hands and my fingers, and I think this would extend out to all my piano playing buddies who are so famous for having carpal tunnel as they've been playing for 10, 20 years. I use these grip strength exercises, and I do go rock climbing, and I do everything I can to make sure that my forearms are extremely, extremely strong. And I don't have any problems with my hands. I don't have any signs of arthritis. I don't have any pain with anything.
That's really, really good.
Yeah.
All the research that I've done so far has said that carpal tunnel and tendonitis in the wrists are like a huge thing.
Huge. It
For the
happens.
professionals, like repetitive strains and things like that. So we got to sort out your shoulder and your neck situation.
Absolutely. That's the big thing.
So exercise definitely facilitates the muscles to do the things that you ask it to do. And both sides of the body need to be taken into account. So yeah, your grip strength is on point, awesome. Your extension of your hand could maybe be addressed. Do you find that you curl up in your hands when you're not paying attention to them, or do they lie pretty neutral?
I think they curl up just because I like them curled up.
Oh yeah, who doesn't?
I don't think there's any sort of an issue with them not being able to go straight.
That's great. Yeah.
I have not really thought about that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so shoulders. How would Russell take it from me? What are you gonna do for your shoulders to help them be balanced?
One of the best things is making sure that you strengthen the other side that isn't having the issue, because like if one side is stronger than the other, it's going to pull your neck to the side, and like you mentioned earlier off air, you have issues with needing to crack your neck, because actually I think Rosie told me this. You didn't.
Yeah. It freaks me out. It's a really loud noise, and it concerns me that it gets stuck and you have to unstick it by smushing it. Your aunt had a similar neck situation, did you say?
Yeah, that's right. My one aunt is like really into violin, plays in concerts and stuff.
Those people are horrible to massage. I'm so sad for their bodies.
Yeah, and she's in playing the violin that much at that level. Her neck kind of gets stuck in the violin playing position because she's like pushing on the violin into her shoulder. So yeah, she has to strengthen the other side. The muscle is called the SCM, sternocleidomastoid, if anyone cares about that. It's that ropey one in the front of the neck.
Yeah, it comes down at an angle and points towards your clavicle.
Sternum?
Saddle?
Sure.
I think it's called a saddle.
Yeah, that bone in the front of your neck. The sternoclavicular joint.
Correct.
Is the one you're looking for.
Yes.
Not that anyone
It
really
looks like a
cares
saddle,
too much
kind of,
about
because
that.
it's a little indentation. I like it. It's a pretty muscle.
Anyway,
Joint.
moving right along. So the thing that she needs to do is to strengthen the opposite side so it doesn't pull quite as much. And what are some specific exercises, Rosie, that one can do for such a SCM?
First of all, not a doctor, not a physiotherapist over here, but as a massage therapist, I would recommend remedial exercise, and that is within my power to do. Registered massage therapist, 2 years of college. Safest, easiest thing to do would be an isometric contraction. So what that means...
That is a long and complicated word.
Isometric contraction. So you would keep your head in a neutral position, and you would use your hand or your arm to support against the way that you were going to contract, and you would contract into that way while keeping your head in alignment. So it looks kind of funny. Do it in the bathroom mirror or whatever, and just see yourself doing that movement that you would like to strengthen, but don't move into that movement. So that's an isometric. That's a non-movement contraction. Conversely, if you are advanced enough, or if you feel you're advanced enough after you've done the no movement contractions for a while, maybe you can do what I would call is a head up, where you're laying. So it's like a sit up, but with your head. Right? So you can try it on your back.
That sounds intense.
Right? Yeah. So on your back, you're laying down, you're bringing your chin to your chest, or you're doing it with a little bit of a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Flexion with rotation is fairly safe. Extension with rotation, not terribly safe. So if you're going to do extension, say laying on your stomach with your head over the edge of the bed or whatever, extending backwards, very good, very healthy. Not a lot of people are strong enough there, in my opinion. But rotation as well as extension from laying flat on your stomach, a little bit less safe. Do that very slowly and with caution. And always follow the advice of your physical therapist or chiropractor or doctor.
Isometric exercise.
Isometric exercise for the win.
I want that to be my ringtone. All right, so let's talk about posture for a second. So Buddy over here was playing his banjo earlier, and I was watching his posture. So tell me about your lower back stuff. I was noticing that.
Oh, it sucks. It hurts. I want to cry. Not often, but it hurts.
Yeah. The tears make the bluegrass authentic.
They do. They really do.
So it's a heavy instrument, and you're leaning backwards into the shoulder strap to support it in a I can see my fingers kind of way. So I'm not digging that. If you could put up a mirror instead, that would be helpful, I would think.
Although to compensate for the weight, you kind of have to lean back just to keep your center of balance.
Well, so that needs to come from the lower abdomen and the hips and the knees.
Yeah.
So I would suggest for you, for sure, widen the stance. Keep the knees bent, and the pelvis underneath of the torso needs to be correct. So extra curve in the lower back, not super great. So you're putting a lot of extra strain on the vertebrae when you're only using a piece of each vertebrae to stand on. You want to stack them vertebrae, stack them good, and that is accomplished by torsion of the pelvis. So that's a pelvic tilt exercise, guys. Check that on the YouTubes, pelvic tilt exercise.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if it would also be comfortable to have 1 foot forward a little bit and 1 foot back.
Correct.
With a wider stance.
Yes.
Because that could probably correct the extra curve a little.
So it's more of a rock star stance.
Yeah.
Rather than a bluegrassy, I'm modest, I'm mellow, I'm just doing
hands
this
in your
beautiful
pocket,
thing.
leaning back kind of stance.
Do not put your hands in your pockets when you're on a stage. Anyone ever? God.
It sounds like you have opinions.
I have strong opinions on this. Stage presence is key. But you know what? You got to be presenting your entire body at all times when you're on stage as a musician, I would think. I'm not a musician. I don't know these things. I'm working on violin, though. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I know as a musician, when I'm on the stage, I tend to think of myself more as an actor, and I'm presenting a play, which just happens to feature me pretending to be this musical rock star.
That's a fantastic way of looking at it.
I like that analogy, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking not only of making the music nice, but am I smiling? Is my posture looking good? How am I interacting with the rest of my bandmates? Am I putting on a show that happens to be me acting like this rock star?
Now, while you're on stage, is that actor also concerned about his posture?
No.
That's part of health, though. If I see poor posture, I'm concerned about the health of that person. I was on Broadway the other day watching a band. I don't know who this band is, a bunch of teenagers. But his hands were in his pockets, his neck was craned forward, and he was hitting some high notes. Very well, I'll admit, but it looked painful in his neck.
Yeah.
And it really made me think of that Gord Downing when he had his anniversary. Is that what his name is?
I don't even know who you're talking about. Please continue as if I do.
Buddy with the brain cancer.
Oh, yeah. Totally know him.
Yeah. Anyway, he would wear socks on his neck to keep it warm. You guys know.
That seems smart.
Yeah, and like posture
that.
and taking care of the body and the neck. It speaks to self-esteem. It speaks to longevity. Like,
Cool.
oh, I can get behind this band because this guy's going to take care of himself long enough to keep making good music.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
was the gist of where I was going with that.
Yeah. So let's circle back a little bit.
Sorry, yeah.
Back to posture.
Back to posture.
So your lower back
Flat.
is really, really hurting, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to flatten that out with your regular everyday posture of
Yeah.
playing. I would like to see that. Legs
And-
wide, knees bent.
Yeah, and to correct the pain as it is now, I had recommended earlier to you to strengthen your core. When one part gets overworked, gets repetitive strain, you have to strengthen the other side,
Yes.
whatever that side may be. In this case, it's the abdominals.
So you would do that maybe with yoga. You would do that maybe
Yep.
with a physiotherapy exercise called a Superman.
Yep.
Where you lift laying on your belly, you would lift your left hand and your right foot opposite at the same time,
Yeah.
and then go back to the other side. So right hand and then left foot. I enjoy that one. I think
Yep.
that's a really good long lengthening kind of exercise for the abdomen.
Yep.
I'm
I'm really into planks.
Planks are good. Planks are good. Planks are tough to do properly, and a person will trick themselves into thinking that they're doing it right, but then be dropping their pelvis and their lower back curves, and then they're putting muscle memory in themselves that's not quite perfect.
Yeah. So have someone who is very opinionated on posture to assess you as
Yes.
you're doing it.
Yeah. Have someone watch you and say as soon as you drop
Yeah.
that, like, oh no, you're out. But yeah, so your
Yeah.
goal then is to maintain a perfect plank for as long as possible, and
Yeah.
maybe that starts at 5 seconds. Maybe you make it to 10 seconds next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a thing to work on. Shoulders. What do you feel about the shoulders, bud?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, the shoulders. So you had pointed out on a muscle man the levator scapula.
Yes, I did.
A common thing with guitar playing, I was doing some research earlier, is people hiking their shoulders as they're playing. Or with the banjo, the strap pushes your shoulder down. And then the levator scapula, which elevates the shoulder blade and the shoulder itself.
Fancy name there, science.
Yeah, just to explain how something elevates a bone. Anyway, so as there's excessive load being put on that, it kind of hurts the muscle a bunch. And women will find this with purses as well.
Yeah, holding your purse on the same side all the time. Not great.
17-pound purses.
Yeah, so really the banjo is at the edge of 10% of your body weight that you want to be holding. So that's a maximum purse weight, I would say as well. So yeah, definitely you want to make sure that you're not lifting too much in the shoulder. You have strength in the mid back to keep the shoulder back and down.
Yep.
Back and down in the shoulder. Up, back, and down is how they used to tell me posture-wise when I was a cadet, because that's how I spent my youth, because I'm cool. So up, back, and down with the shoulders, and squared.
Yes.
Squared. You don't want to throw one forward to the detriment of the rotation of the spine, because then you're putting them at an angle, and then you get all the cracks and the crazy things that happen with musicians' bodies, like I've been hearing. Mr. Kyeler with all the cracks, and you, Russell, also, you crack your neck all the time. It freaks me out, bro.
It's awful.
Don't do it. We're not doing it for the live radio.
I apologize to everyone who has ever heard it.
Yeah, very loud. Very loud. This is not particularly healthy. Don't do it to yourself, please.
It's a bad habit.
Yeah. So alignment. There's this jazz called the Alexander technique, where if you use your body in the most ergonomic and aligned way, you won't have as many problems because your nerves can get to all your muscles through your spine being set up in a happy way. So I would recommend reading on that Alexander technique if you're so inclined. But that's my jam. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I feel
Posture.
like that is nearly impossible to do, though, as you add things to your body.
Super. But the struggle for perfection is always going to be valuable.
Yeah.
To pursue.
So have you ever considered playing left-handed to compensate?
Just to mess with your brain?
That would be going right back to square one
Yeah.
as far as playing. It's an interesting concept.
Yep.
Learning the banjo twice. I could
Yeah.
go back and I could learn things right the first time.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, and I don't think I will because,
Yeah.
older and only have so much time. And
Yeah. But
certainly
I mean,
an intriguing idea.
yeah. But really, the only way to make sure that you don't injure one side over the other is to be ambidextrous with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like to say bihandual,
Biannual.
because that's how I roll with my vocabulary.
You are special.
Yeah.
So everyone, ambidextrous is now bihandual.
Bihandual.
You heard it here first.
Bringing it back. Bringing it back.
Speaking of doing things in a multidisciplinary sort of way, doing multiple instruments, or being a musician, as Kyeler likes to say, is a very healthy way of doing things.
Yep.
If you would like to learn more about Kyeler, you can go to his website, Kyeler.com, KYELER.com.
.com, not .ca?
.com, Kyeler.com. It's got a better ring.
It does.
Kyeler.com.
It really does.
So you can book him for your events and or functions.
Or just pay him exorbitant amounts of money to serenade you while you eat.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do that.
He does some good smiling and standing.
Yes.
And now that we've corrected his posture, it's going to be a good time.
And now for something completely different. As we end our program for this evening, we are going to soothe you with the sweet sounds of the violin, played by the incomparable Kyeler.
The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. But when I woke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. In all my dreams, dear, you seem to leave me. When I awake, my poor heart breaks. So won't you come back so I can love you? I'll forgive you, dear, I'll take all the blame. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray.